Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, it's Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things nerdy through a common sense lens. And I probably, like many of you out there, have kind of noticed a lot of these major corporations out there kind of ditching a lot of the DEI kind of nonsense out there, right? You saw a lot less pride flags on a lot of social media accounts over last June. You've seen some things change. You've seen a lot of firings, a lot of layoffs, a lot of closures of diversity, inclusion, and equity sections inside of these major corporations. Skydance just bought Paramount out there. They flat out said they don't have any DEI offices and they will be eliminating any ones that do exist in Paramount right now. So we've seen this kind of stuff. And obviously Disney has laid off massive amounts of people too. They've rebranded. They've kind of changed things out there a little bit. And obviously this is a positive sign for a lot of people out there. It shows that the culture is actually starting to win. We are starting to push back against all of this evil and all this propaganda that has just absolutely devastated and destroyed entertainment plus all of the rest of our culture over the last few decades. Well, as many have suspected out there, and some people might have called them, I don't know, maybe a little pessimistic about the changes going on out there, at least one company has decided that they are ditching the DEI all for something new called belonging. But as soon as you see what's going on and some of the highlights, some of the programs, and some of the completely and totally voluntary training that's going on inside of Disney, you'll soon understand that the House of Mouse has not dropped any of their propaganda whatsoever. They've just slapped a new paint job on it, hoping we won't pay attention. Well, boys and girls, thankfully enough, there's so many independent journalists out there like that Park Place doing the Lord's work, exposing all of this kind of nonsense, and honestly doing it in a very fair and balanced way, because guess what? As soon as you see the headlines of some of these little voluntary classes everyone's going to not have to attend, you'll understand that some things absolutely have not changed, and Disney propaganda will continue going forward, because guess what? They simply can't help themselves, and although they might change the name, they are dedicated to turning this company into nothing more than a disastrous dumpster fire. Bob Iger and the rest of his ilk will sacrifice all of Walt's legacy on the altar to their cult, despite how many times they've thrown their babies into the fires of Moloch and still ended up with nothing more than box office disastrous dumpster fires and shows that nobody watches. So we're going to share this article from thatparkplace.com, getting all of the juicy details and show you exactly why this is nothing more than the exact same kind of garbage they were pushing before. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We just crossed 2,300. We're sailing our way towards 24 on our journey to 100,000. I think we're sitting at like 2,330, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below later what you think about all this. Does it surprise you at all? Does it just confirm your own suspicions about Disney not dropping all of the woke kind of garbage nonsense out there, and that they will continue forward with their agenda no matter what? Or were you actually one of those people out there like me who might have been a little cautiously optimistic about things actually changing inside of the House of Mouse? Or are you one of the woke acolytes of the cult out there who are super excited that Disney is not ditching all of their diversity, inclusion, and equity nonsense? They're simply rebranding because all of those mean its and phobes out there have found them out. Let us know what you think about that in the comment section down below, because unlike at Disney, all opinions are welcome down below. And of course, if you'd like to support the channel, check out the description. All right, boys and girls, from thatparkplace.com and our dear sweet WDW Pro. Disney drops DEI in favor of belonging. Employees to join Global Belonging Week starting Monday. And as a guy that served in the military, boys and girls will know, we know all about those voluntary events. Now, don't we? The Walt Disney Company appears ready to drop diversity, equity, and inclusion, or how we like to call it, DIE, because that's literally all it does to franchises and companies, in favor of belonging. After a tumultuous upheaval at the House of Mouse following the last presidential election, in which controversial programs like Reimagine Tomorrow were purged from the entertainment juggernaut. Yeah, if you don't remember that one, it's where the Disney executive, who apparently has 2 trans kids, somehow, I'm sure that's not indoctrination in any way, shape, or form, somehow had that and was definitely telling all of their employees that that's intentionally what the kind of propaganda propaganda they were going to be pushing into all of your children's shows. Fortunately enough, there are still some sane people left inside of Disney that leaked all of that information out to us, much like what we're about to talk about as well. As the Lord promised, there would always be a remnant left. And may the Lord keep you and protect you, all of you secret warriors inside of Disney, because you absolutely are doing his work. While they were purged from the entertainment juggernaut, Disney is retooling employee outreach next week with a program all about belonging rather than DEI. Here's the memo that went out earlier this week, picked up by Business Insider for Disney's Global Belonging Week. Now, as we go through some of these headlines and some of these titles, let us know if any of this sounds familiar to exactly what they were doing with Reimagine Tomorrow. So here is from Disney themselves. You're invited. Global Belonging Week. Details for Disney's inaugural Global Belonging Week, October 20th to the 24th, 2025, are here. Join us for this employee-exclusive virtual and in-person experience. That's right, because if they can't afford to fly you all there, you'll be required to attend via digital. Employees around the world are invited to join planned experiences. Invited. To join planned experiences focused on ways to increase your belonging and opportunities to thrive. Doesn't that sound so nice and positive? We know that when employees feel a sense of belonging, they thrive, and so does the magic of Disney. Yeah, how's that? How's all that belonging and making your psychopathic, mentally deranged employees feel uncomfortable worked out for you at the box office and the television ratings over the last few years? Disney. This voluntary week of events is designed to celebrate our rich culture, spark engagement, and empower each of us to do our best every day. Really. Except you'll notice there's nothing about like morality and children's entertainment and any of this kind of stuff. There's nothing that might possibly even sniff of maybe libertarian or even conservative ideology. No. But we'll get to that in just a minute. Throughout the week, you'll get insight from keynote speakers designed to empower and inspire you. Now, given I don't, because I put out like 3 or 4 videos a day in some cases and record sometimes 6 and like live stream 60 and work 65 hours a week doing this, I didn't have a chance to research every single one of these people individually out there. But I guarantee the majority of these keynote speakers out there will end up having pronouns in their bio somewhere, and we'll just leave it at that, boys and girls. After all, do your own research. Don't trust anything I'm telling you, or anything Disney's telling you for that matter either. Engaging learning speakers that foster a deeper understanding of the core values of inclusion and the power of belonging. There's your first hint. Inclusion. You just want to be inclusive, right? You don't want to have any ideas or opinions that might exclude someone else, now would you? Opportunities to network and create meaningful connections with colleagues, as well as volunteer opportunities with Disney's volunteers. That's right, volunteer opportunities. I remember a volunteer opportunity I had in the Air Force. Now, given I didn't mind going and doing it, we were helping building a children's park, or a children's playground for a school. But trust me, everyone was very well aware that you were going to be there. Okay, let's just put that out there. But I'm sure that would never happen inside of Disney. No registration required, but we will be taking names. Visit the page below to learn about each event and to save them to your calendar. Remember, your employee calendar. This is an employee-only event. I'm sure we'll get leaks from this in the coming weeks, and I can't wait. And here's the Disney's Global Belonging Week itinerary. Keynote and kickoff. All of these people, ESPN, directors of advertising, Disney Entertainment, right? Co-consumer, general manager, Brazil, and head of marketing, out of home. All kind of people you normally expect, right? Tisha Agermonter, SVP and Chief Opportunity and Inclusion Officer. The rebranded DEI person. Sonia Coleman, Chief People Officer. Yeah, those don't sound like completely and totally fake jobs now, do they? Belonging and thriving, joining from humble beginnings to first-generation corporate professionals. Chief Opportunity and Inclusion Officer, Tisha Agermore, right there at 9 to 10. Sonia Coleman, Chief People Officer, again. Art of Belonging, Moana. What do we got here? Telling stories that resonate. The global impact of Lilo and Stitch. That sounds good. As somebody in my chat pointed out, this sounds like a more ridiculous version of D23 out there. Anastasia Alley, moderator, inclusion, marketing, and audience growth. Inclusive marketing and audience growth. You think they're going to be trying to reach out to conservative families? Nope. Let's see what else we got. Cultivating a culture of belonging through interpersonal connections with Patricia Borders. Let's Art of Belonging in Canto. You know, that very successful global streaming hit out there. What else we got here? Cross-cultural connections, where belongings begin on demand. Do you think any of those cross-cultural connections will be anything as part of maybe Southern America out there, or maybe any of American culture? No. And here's one of my favorites. Belong and thrive. Noticeably buried at the bottom of all of these announcements. The joy of intersectionality, allyship, and inclusion on demand. That's right, boys and girls, because as the cult has told you a million times, silence is violence. If you're not an ally, you're an enemy. So yes, as many of people out there suspected, Disney is not ditching the woke agenda. They're just rebranding it as belonging. Well, guess what? We know what number's up, and you know what? Maybe my video won't get very much traction in the algorithm. Maybe it won't reach very far, but I'm one very small fish in a much larger fellowship, a global fellowship of a pond that will call you out and make sure that everyone out there in the world is very aware that Disney has not ditched the woke, despite what Bob Iger might lie to the public about over and over again. And one of the most dramatic reorganizations in recent history, NBC News cut roughly 150 employees amid a broader corporate restructuring tied to Comcast's impending spinout. Among those hardest hit were NBC's diversity-oriented editorial verticals. Dedicated teams that produce content under brands such as NBC Black, NBC Asian American, NBC Latino, and NBC Out were largely dismantled, while NBC says the verticals will persist in concept, enabled by contributions from broader newsrooms. The distinct infrastructure and focus that underpin those efforts are now gone. But it appears the movement is underway, subtly in corporate America, to quietly move away from DEI language of the last decade. You're not wrong. Will it return where political winds would shift again? It's anyone's guess about what C-suites across the USA might deem as belonging, other than employees enjoying a new buzzword and movement. But it's pretty obvious, at least from Disney's own admission, by these very products, these very things that are going to be voluntary classes for all of their employees to attend, right? Of exactly what this is. The joy of intersectionality, allyship, and inclusion on demand, right? That one will be on demand. But that's exactly what it is. None of this is going to change. Disney is not ditching the woke. They fired a bunch of people that might be considered activists when it comes to Marvel, but from a corporate structure, nothing's changed. They're still going to try to indoctrinate their employees. They're still going to continue to hire the kind of people like we talked about in the Steven Universe, the video that we just did not too long ago. Go check that one out if you haven't already, right? They're going to continue hiring people like that their only intent is to subvert expectations by interjecting their own personal issues and their own personal agendas into not only children's entertainment, but every IP Marvel still owns. And you know what? By all means, let them have at it. Disney's dead. Let's be honest. Disney, as far as an actual successful origin place of original ideas and new phenomenons and new cultural relevances of IPs, is over. Right? They have purged all of their creative talent out of that company for the most part, especially when it comes to anybody actually making executive decisions. Kevin Feige's a hack. Kathleen Kennedy never cared about Star Wars and only wanted to destroy it to insert herself into it. And we now know all of this to be true. And we know all of this is going to be exposed. We knew Inside Out, Pixar, all of that kind of stuff. It was all about the gay agenda. And yeah, a lot of those employees might have been fired, but that's because eventually you do run out of other people's money. Because they've run out of Disney's family's money. For all those decades that families like mine and so many others gave money to Disney by buying their movies, by buying their VHSs, by watching their stuff at the theaters, by going and seeing this stuff, whether it be Marvel or Disney Animation or Pixar stuff. They have officially started to finally run out of our money. And even inside of Disney, who will go down, they will die on the hill for the woke cult, clearly based on the corporate stuff that they are putting out there right now. Even they have started to run out of other people's money. That's why all of those massive layoffs have happened at Disney over the last few years. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because until major leadership structural changes happen, and that includes people like Bob Iger, Dana Walden, Kathleen Kennedy, Kevin Feige and his little butt buddy over there at Marvel, and Dave Filoni are all fired and removed, and actual creative talent is put back in place inside of the House of Mouse, this company will continue to burn down to the ground, because at the core of Bob Iger's Walt Disney Corporation is nothing more than diversity, inclusion, and equity, now reimagined as belonging. But it's nothing more than the exact same kind of agenda-driven garbage, indoctrination, and re-education camps that the Reimagine Tomorrow program was. Because after all, Bob Iger has danced with the devil in the pale moonlight. He believed all of those lies and still does to this day. And guess what, Bobby boy? You made that decision, and you've chosen to stay in that dance, bouncing around that floor with Lucifer himself as that light still continues to fade. Yet you're holding on as tightly as you can because you know nothing else. And at the end of the day, it will be your undoing. And Bobby boy, you will be remembered as the man who devastated and destroyed what was once the great Walt Disney Corporation. And that is the only legacy you deserve. And it will be the one that you get. Because after the end of the day, Bob Iger, you did it to yourself. In the future, Disney leadership, don't dance with the devil in the pale moonlight. His lies are exactly that. A big shout out to all of our subscribers and members out there. Thanks for watching, and make sure you guys like and subscribe if you have not already.